In a 2014 study, researchers asked participants to rate how politely they spoke to their romantic partners compared to complete strangers. The results were uncomfortable. Most people, without realizing it, used harsher tones, more criticism, and less basic courtesy with the person they claimed to love most than with someone they'd never met before. Not occasionally, routinely, as a default. And when they were shown the data about their own behavior, most of them were genuinely surprised. Not defensive, surprised. Because they hadn't noticed. That's the part that should stop you cold. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't even conscious. It was just the way things had become. And that quiet erosion is what this video is about. To understand why this happens, you have to understand something fundamental about how the human brain manages social energy. Every interaction you have with another person costs something. Attention, regulation, the effort of presenting yourself, reading them, adjusting, responding. With strangers, that cost is high, but it's also time-limited. You perform your best self for an hour, and then you go home. With the people you live with, the people you love, there is no going home. The performance never ends, and eventually, the brain stops performing. Psychologists call this the closest relationships penalty. The very intimacy that makes a relationship deep also makes it the place where your nervous system finally lets its guard down. You stop filtering. You stop softening. You say the thing you'd never say to a colleague. You use the tone you'd never use with a friend. Not because you love them less, but because your brain has classified them as safe enough to be honest with. The tragedy is that honesty without care becomes cruelty dressed in comfort. There's a second mechanism at work, one that's even harder to sit with. Familiarity breeds what researchers call habituation, the neurological process by which repeated exposure to something reduces its emotional impact. The same brain that lit up when your partner walked into a room in the early days of your relationship gradually stops registering that event as significant. This isn't a failure of love, it's basic neuroscience. But its consequences are anything but basic. Because habituation doesn't just reduce excitement, it reduces attention. And without attention, people become furniture. Think about the last time a stranger said something kind to you, a cashier who noticed you seemed tired, a neighbor who complimented something small, the disproportionate warmth you felt. Now think about the last time someone in your home said something equally kind. The chances are it barely registered, because your brain had already discounted them. Their words had lost their novelty premium, that neurological bonus that makes new voices louder than familiar ones. And of course, the reverse is also true. Their criticisms land harder. Their bad moods cost more. Proximity amplifies everything, the good and the bad, in deeply unequal ways. But perhaps the most psychologically revealing reason we treat loved ones worse is this: we expect more from them. With a stranger, your expectations are essentially zero. Any kindness is a surplus. Any warmth is a gift. But with the people closest to you, expectations have accumulated over years, sometimes decades. They should know how you like your coffee. They should remember what you said last Tuesday. They should sense when something is wrong without being told. And when they fail, as all humans inevitably do, the disappointment isn't neutral. It registers as a small betrayal, a small proof that perhaps they don't really see you after all. This expectation gap is where enormous damage gets done in otherwise loving relationships. Not through dramatic fights or obvious cruelty, but through the slow accumulation of small, disappointed silences. the tight jaw at dinner, the clipped answer, the sigh that says everything without saying anything. Strangers never disappoint you this way because you never handed them the blueprint of everything you needed. Loved ones carry that blueprint, and every deviation from it becomes evidence in a case you're quietly building against them. There is also the question of emotional safety and how it gets corrupted over time. Early in any close relationship, emotional safety is a gift freely given. You show someone your fears, your failures, your worst moments, and they stay. That staying is the foundation of real intimacy. But here's what nobody warns you about. That same knowledge, the intimate map of another person's vulnerabilities, can become a weapon without anyone deciding to pick it up. You know exactly which comment will land hardest. You know the wound that never fully healed. And in moments of frustration or pain, that knowledge leaks out in ways that would be impossible with a stranger who knows nothing about you. Researchers studying conflict in long-term relationships found something striking. The more intimate the relationship, the more precisely targeted the criticism. Strangers insult broadly. Loved ones, even unintentionally, find the exact nerve. Because love is also a form of intelligence about another person, and intelligence, in the wrong emotional state, becomes precision damage. So what do we do with all of this? The first step, and it sounds almost insultingly simple, is to notice. To catch yourself in the moment where you are about to say something to your partner, your parent, your child, that you would never say to a stranger, and ask yourself why the person who matters most deserves your least considered response. Not out of guilt, out of genuine curiosity about what has quietly happened to your attention. Because here's what the research consistently shows. The relationships that sustain people, the ones that produce genuine well-being over decades, are not the ones built on grand gestures or passionate intensity. They are the ones where two people kept paying attention, where ordinary moments were treated as worth showing up for, where the courtesy extended to strangers was also, deliberately and consistently, extended to each other. The people closest to you are not furniture. They are not a given. They are not background noise in the story of your life. They are, if you're lucky, the story itself. And stories deserve to be read carefully, every single day. If this landed somewhere real for you, subscribe. And if you want to support this work, hit that join button. It genuinely matters.